fade. Don't do a cut. He's already. We can start again. We can start again.
Ruined it.
He's ruined it already.
Right, well, how do I...
Go on. So press cut. You ready?
Yeah.
You done it?
Now it's back on the wrong one, right?
Okay,
And
Mac backwards.
he straight away within the first 10 seconds is getting his merch in the video.
No, you got
Straight away. Okay, cool. You had a funny story because I accidentally called you Camera Cox just before the stream.
Yeah.
That's not really PG-13, and we can't really talk about that, can we? Necessarily.
What about uni?
Yeah.
Oh, I could make it
Yeah?
PG-13.
Yeah. Okay. Give us a PG-13 version.
Okay, so are we not swearing on this?
You can swear if you want.
Okay, all right. So, yeah, it was just a small anecdote. Basically, obviously, my name's Cameron. I did a film degree at uni, and you know, when you're at uni and you're not in your lectures and you're a bit.
Sorry, that's fucking hot.
No, he's about himself.
Sorry, carry on.
No worries. Yeah, so every so often I would catch myself slipping in a lecture, and when the lecturer would say the word camera, I'd instantly be like, yeah, what was that? What was that? And try to like, answer a question, thinking that they called my name, but obviously I was just tired.
Tired. He's very tired at uni. We're all very tired at uni. All media students are just tired.
Just tired.
Right. Anyway, Cameron Cox.
That's me.
Can you give us a lowdown, a little introduction to yourself?
Yeah. So videographer mainly. Photographer I do more sort of for fun. I don't love doing like corporate photography. It's just I don't know. I just like being on the streets and just snapping. Musician, so rapper, singer, songwriter, blah blah blah. And I just got into Twitch streaming as well. So yeah, doing fingers in all the pies, as they say. Jack of all trades, probably a master of none.
To a certain degree, you kind of have to be just saying yes first and then figuring out how to do it later. Even with all of this stuff, I'm actually going to have to hold this microphone all the way through because I haven't figured out two ways of jerry-rigging two microphones. I don't know if anyone saw the Last of Us review that was up. It was way too loud because of the microphone, so we're fixing it as we go. But yeah, you kind of have to do everything nowadays, don't you?
Well, even now, like, I we're both self-employed, but I catch myself every so often just going through job listings just to see what's there in terms of video roles. But you know, now they're asking you to be a cameraman, an editor, a motion graphics designer, an animator, VFX.
Can you animate?
Yeah, audio design. You need to just do everything just to have one job. Whereas, you know, even a couple of years ago when I had my first job, it was just we're looking for a cameraman that can edit, and now it's you need to do everything and they're still not offering that the same. They're offering the same wage as they would. Do you know what I mean?
Entry level with the promise of
yeah. We're a family here and we like to grow. Now, fuck off. That just means we want to take advantage of you.
Yeah.
So if anyone is out there that's new to video stuff like that, trying to get a job, be very wary when they say in the listings that we're a family because it's not true.
And obviously, this is a biased perspective of someone who's a freelancer looking inwards. But no, I fully understand that. Like, every now and again, you're like, oh, I'm getting away with this. Like, maybe that little voice of your parents at the back of your voice, at the back of your head.
Yeah.
Oh, get a real job.
Yeah.
Like, that, especially when things aren't going 100%. You're like, oh, should I weather the tide? Should I have something more secure? What's the future gonna have?
Yeah. Because there's always, as a freelancer, there's always those sometimes months where you don't have a lot of work coming in, or especially during sort of like December, January time.
I want to drink this tea, but it's too hot.
Go for it. Go on.
No, I'm not. I've already burnt my tongue. I'm like, no.
Do it for content.
do it for the views. Do it for the views. Oh, speaking of which, let's get our own stream up so we can see how terrible we look.
So one thing...
So carry on talking for a while I do that.
Okay, so one thing I would like to ask you, actually...
Oh. I didn't come on here to have my questions questioned.
We know each other, sort of. We've been, you know, in places the same as each other, but this is like our first proper time, apart from that time I came around yours to play VR, this is the
We-
first.
yeah.
with Odie.
Yeah.
This is the first time we've had a proper chat, but I never knew. So how did you get your start?
Oh gosh,
Into
I've
this?
said my. You're gonna have to answer it straight afterwards.
That's fine. That's content,
okay,
bro. We've got
okay.
at least 10 minutes there.
At least 10 minutes. Oh god. So I was never meant to be a video a photographer. Coming out of sixth form, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do in life, and that's the question everyone has to ask themselves eventually. What do I actually want to do? What do I actually want to pursue? And at that time, there was not a quote, but a way of thinking that occurred to me was that if you had all the money in the world, what would you do? So just do that and then make all the money in the world.
That's a good quote.
And in that time, especially at sixth form, I would give up my lunch breaks, my lunch times to edit. I would lose myself in the edit,
And
just
you-
trying to.
Were you self-taught with editing and stuff? Were
Yeah,
you-
yeah. You know, you're excited. Like, how can I figure this out?
Yeah.
And the school computers were slightly better than the ones that I had at home, but for years before that, making skate films.
Oh, is that you made skate films?
Yeah, I had a terrible camera that recorded for 5 seconds.
Really?
You could get like 10 clips on it.
With big fisheye.
No,
Not even a
terrible
picture, no.
little credit card sized
Really?
camera, like probably 30 quid. And I would record these terrible little clips and using Windows Movie Maker, which would crash every 5 minutes.
My first was like,
You know,
movie, mate.
are you even a video editor if
Yeah.
you
If
haven't gone through
started
that?
the video with the blue screen and white titles.
Yeah, yeah. And that I learned a lot of lessons there in trying to figure out how to deal with editing software and make things work. And I would hack on because they would have a school network, and they would have group folders on the network
Yeah.
for like maths class, for science class, where you could sign on because they were getting used to computers at that time. And I would get on and I would post my videos.
Yeah.
Where the files were for the lessons.
Oh, okay.
So people would open up. This is like probably before YouTube.
So that was a hustle, man.
So like I was just showing the kids like, oh, this is our skate videos.
That's
so
sick.
that was my first part of getting into media, and I was just decided if it like this is what I lose track of time with, it'd be wicked if I could get paid for that.
Yeah, 100%.
So that's where my first kind of fire comes from. That the story could go on forever. But
Yeah.
let's keep it to like what was your first fire, the
So,
flame. of it.
I self-taught myself Photoshop initially because I just loved the idea of being to manipulate images and make them not what you took. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That, as like an 11, 12-year-old, I had like a cracked version of Photoshop on my PC.
Yes.
Sorry, Adobe. I'll pay for you now. I'll
Pay for you
I
now.
promise you, I
Honestly,
do.
way too much.
You've made it so I can't not pay for you now. Sorry about that. Audio probably got a bit messed up there. So yeah, I loved the idea of being able to manipulate images, and it sort of coincided with music in terms of I knew a lot of people in the music industry that always needed sort of not in the industry, underground rappers in the area, let's say, rather than, I'm not making myself out to be working for Universal. At
People
sort
that
of
were
30.
trying. People that
Yeah,
were trying.
but they always needed sort
Is your
of.
microphone okay there? Do you want to?
Let's-
It's doing its own thing here, isn't it?
Yeah. All right, that's sound.
Yeah. Okay.
So, I would start off by making CD covers, and obviously they were shit. But every CD cover I made, I saw improvement, and also then as well I got into. Do you remember MySpace?
Yeah.
Do you remember layouts on
Oh,
MySpace?
mate.
So I started making MySpace
Yeah.
layouts for people, and
Oh.
then I started charging every £5 for a layout.
Wow, hustle, man.
Yeah, so I was
Okay.
hustling with that, and then there was one CD cover I did. The name escapes me. I think her name was Cherry. She's a rapper from, I believe, Nottingham, but someone I knew put me in contact with her, and I made this cover for her, and I did it all off a YouTube tutorial, and just sort of made it my own.
Yeah.
And then eventually found out that she used it, and it was in HMV, and I was like, I'm 13. And I've got a CD cover in HMV, and like, what? Do you know what I mean? Still, like, looking back at it now, it's probably a terrible CD cover.
Wow.
But still, do you know what I mean? So that was where I first got into it, and then It was when.
Microphone's gonna leap off the table at some point.
Let's do this. Hold on. Let's make
Sorry, man. I've
No,
proper
it's cool.
bodged it. It's
Cool,
it's
cool.
literally like a Gorilla Pod small rig.
I think it
Joby
was
thing.
when I got into like, I don't know how the school system works now, but when I was like in year 10, or when I went to go into year 10, and it was, you can now choose what you want to study instead of now you have to study geography and history. Now you can choose, and you know, when you look at the options list, I was like, wait, photography? That's a thing?
You can do that.
You can learn photography? Like, that's not just a thing people pick up? Because I was already self-taught at this point with Photoshop and stuff, and I'd had my own camera, so I'd just YouTube tutorials. I didn't think that was a viable option at school. And then obviously I saw like media studies, and I'm not academically smart, so maths and science, do you know what I mean? So,
Preach, brother.
yeah,
Preach.
obviously we had to still do them, but when it came to stuff like history and geography and stuff that just didn't interest me, and it was all sort of academics, like, I've got so much respect for people that do that, because that stuff's hard, don't get me wrong, but it was like, I can do all these creative things, I'm just going to do them, screw lessons, do you know what I mean? I'm going to take photos and make films. Obviously it wasn't as like good as that. It was still lessons.
Oh,
you
it's
know
at
what
the
I mean?
time,
It
it's-
wasn't
yeah,
just
yeah,
like
okay.
go off with a camera and sow your wild oats for a couple of years.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think I did media, and then within a couple of weeks of starting my media GCSE, my media teacher, Mr. Gunn, he's like the only teacher that I'd ever like actually liked. So it made
Okay.
me work really hard in his lesson.
There we go.
So if you're a teacher, make sure your kids like you, because it's like, I think that's the reason I hated maths and science. I had teachers that, you know, they're there to be arseholes. You know what I mean? Like, there's never a smile.
They're there
from
to
them.
tell you what's right, not to engage with you on any kind of level.
Exactly. Whereas my English teacher and my maths teacher, they're the only two teachers that were nice to me. So Miss Hayward, Mr. Gunn, I see you. But yeah, so I think having that. But anyway,
We can send this this podcast to our teachers.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
say,
yeah.
look where we've come.
Well, I recently went back to school to see Mr. Gunn because he needed my help to do a lesson. So it was quite cool to like get in touch with him.
Nice. Okay.
But yeah, so I think well, a couple weeks into my media GCSE, this is where I was going with the story. There was like did your school ever had it where it was like, oh, you have like gifted and talented kind of things?
Gifted and talented things.
So yeah, so it was like if you were gifted and talented in drama, you got to do like a 2-week course kind of thing, or
No,
any lesson.
never heard that. Don't
So
know that.
okay, so it was like, oh, I'm going to put you forward for gifted and talented
Maybe
media.
I was just never gifted
Yeah, or talented.
or talented.
And it was literally just bunking off regular lessons for 2 weeks to make fills.
Oh, sick.
basically.
Yeah.
And we made films. There was like 30 of us that did it. We were in like 3 groups of whatever. Not good at maths. See.
Yeah.
And then so my film, we had like an award ceremony at the end of it, and my film won the award, and I was just like, this is like a thing that I didn't know I enjoyed.
You
'cause-
could excel and
Yeah,
succeed at and
yeah.
enjoy.
Yeah, and it was something that I think I'd never picked up something like that before. Do you know what I mean? Like with Photoshop and with making layouts and stuff, it was gradual progress of watching tutorials. But when it became editing films or being an actual like cinematographer at school, I think it came natural to me, and I was like, actually, like, this is what I want to do. And then from there, I went to college, and then went to uni, and then got a job as head of video at a marketing company for 2 years. Hated it, left,
Oh,
and here we are.
I did 3 months at a marketing
you?
company,
Yeah.
and as soon as weddings and freelance stuff came back after COVID,
Yeah.
I was
So-
out of there.
So when I left uni and I did freelance for about a year, which when I say freelance, it was, I've just left uni and I don't want to get a job. So I'm going to tell my parents I'm doing freelance and just shoot like music videos for rappers for like 50 quid and then just get by on any savings that I have. But then obviously like I didn't think freelance was a viable income, because even at uni, that's not something they taught, was you could do this freelance. It was
100%.
You can go out
And you can find a
have to get a
job.
job, and it will be on your CV, and you've got a wicked CV. I don't even know what my CV looks like anymore. Do you know what I mean? I don't have a CV.
Who's the last person that asked for your CV?
Exactly. Who's the last person that gave a shit about my GCSE grades? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think initially it was like, okay, well, I've done the freelance now. I do have to get an actual job. So I got this job with a marketing company, and it was fine, but it was, you know, how do I explain it? they didn't need a videographer to come in every single day.
Okay.
They weren't busy enough to have a videographer. I would go in 9 to 5. I'd sit down like this for 8 hours. No jobs coming in. Go home, get paid. To some, that might sound like a dream.
Yeah.
But to me, creatively, not fulfilling. And then when the jobs did come in, it was just, and of course it would be, but it was all corporate work.
Yeah.
Whereas I'd come from rapping background or making layouts, making CD covers, making music videos, short films, that kind of thing. And then it was like, I got a job and it was either do nothing, and then when you did do something, go and film 15 mattresses and make them look interesting. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and how do you make
yeah.
a mattress look interesting? You can try, but it's never going to look interesting.
Well, that's a matter of perspective. If you're really into mattresses,
yeah, true. So yeah, and I remember my very first day. It's like one of my clearest memories. I remember the very first day I joined. I sat down at my desk, and 5 minutes went by, and I looked back at the clock, and I was like, "Fucking hell, it felt like 6 hours have gone by." And I remember saying to myself, I can't do this for the rest of my life. I can't do this till I'm 60. I can't come in Monday to Friday.
It's a matter of losing track of time. Now, if you were like, the day's gone by, I was so engaged.
Yeah.
Then it would be a different conversation. But the fact that you notice the time passing.
Yeah. And I remember saying, I can't do this till I'm 60, 70 years old. And I did it for 2 years, and it became, the worst thing is, it sounds stupid, but the worst thing is living for the weekend. I absolutely hated building myself up to the weekend, Friday being absolutely buzzing, and then come Sunday evening dreading. That it was, and it's like 2 days you get of solace
of life, of what you feel like you want to do.
Even then, it's not 2 days. It's Friday night, it's Saturday, and then it's Sunday in the day, and then at night you're like, oh shit, I've got
getting ready to back to it. Yeah.
So, the boss wasn't amazing. I'll say that. It wasn't the nicest person to me. So yeah, I left, and I started up my own company, and here we are, basically. Yeah. I've had a lot of clients, had a lot of fun. I'm looking to build and grow, but it's difficult, especially in the cost of living crisis, and especially right. I don't know if you found this now, but everyone thinks because there's iPhone 25s or whatever they are, everybody thinks they're a videographer.
Yeah, okay.
And it's like, oh no, sorry, we're actually going to do it on our phone instead now.
Yes, but you just smile politely, and you get another email a few weeks later when things don't work out,
Exactly.
and then it's...
But you do get some of those people where it's just like, oh, actually, we can't afford that, we're just going to do it ourselves. And then it's just like, I can promise you now it's never going to look good. And having to try and explain that argument of like, you can shoot on the best phone in the world, but it's not going to look as good as a camera.
Yeah. There's a few different ways of looking at that, because as a creative, everything is down to you, and you take it personally. It's hard to separate that as well. If they're like, we can do the same thing on the phone, it's like, well, what about all this experience? What about all these skills? And there's a lot of different levels to being a full-time professional within media and knowing how to handle things than just whipping your phone out. The phones do so much of the work for you to get into what looks like a final image, but you've got no control over that. The phone does whatever it wants to do. Yeah.
So it's, and especially as well, it's quite interesting seeing the shift of like going from when I was at uni, it was like, so if you wanted to make a promo video for a brand, the best time is like 5 minutes. Now it's like the best time is 20 seconds max. And it's like every brand wants short form content now. It's like people don't even stay around for 2 to 3 minute videos anymore. And that was like, you should aim to be 2 to 3 minutes even a couple of years ago, and now it's like, we need 10-20 seconds max because no one's going to care. And then you've got the challenge of like, how do I incorporate all these shots and tell a brand's story in 10 to 20 seconds?
Because sometimes the story is the point. Sometimes it does make sense to run around with a phone and just tell a story and not care about the production and the structure of it. However, there's a lot of connotations along with the message that the media brings. If you're doing that, it shows that you're not prepared to put money where your mouth is and to show a professional perspective. So I think in some ways, yes, there are some companies that have just kind of fallen on the wayside and decided to do things on their own in that way. But I think there's always going to be businesses that want to be able to promote themselves in the best possible light.
So you know what's really interesting is something I found out recently, especially with my sort of delving into Twitch and stuff like that, and then having to make short form content of the streams to then promote it.
Yeah.
I've noticed a big thing now where it's like on sites like TikTok or Instagram Reels or YouTube Shorts, the main consumers actually prefer shit looking things. they do.
Yeah.
Because I put a video out, I put a short out, and it was filmed on my camera, and it was part of this video essay I made for a game that I played, and it did shit. And then I did one with my phone.
Adderwild.
Yeah. And then I was like, because I've seen a few YouTube TikTok comments where it was like, the more effort put into a TikTok, it looks like an ad, so people just skip it.
Yeah, that's very true.
Whereas if it's just filmed on a phone, no one gives a shit about the lighting, the framing, or anything. If it's just on the phone, it's raw. It's real, and people emote. Is that the word? They
Emote, engage,
with
connect
it more because it feels more real. And then that kind of scared me a little bit as someone that spent 15 years of their life making sure every shot is perfect, being then told, now the shitter the better. Like, it's just, do you know what I mean? It's having to learn a whole new thing to try and keep, I suppose it's the younger generation more so, engaged.
Yeah. But still structuring the message. I don't know. It's a matter of being adaptable, and as we were saying, you kind of got to figure everything out.
Yeah.
And just have a go at it, even with these live streams, even with your Twitch. We're just finding a new platform, way of promoting, sharing, and connecting.
And having fun as well, because that's the most important thing. Like when I started Twitch, it was like I could make money out of playing video games. And then after like the first or second stream, you're like, oh no, this is really fucking difficult. And it's so hard to like, even now, like I've been doing it since August last year, and even now it's like so hard to get like a steady amount of viewership. But one thing that I did find out whilst doing it was I actually like love interacting with strangers on the internet, and just even if it's just names on a chat, like having that fun with someone and brightening someone else's day.
Yeah.
And that goes with like why I make music as well. Like the reason I like to create, I think I found out recently, is to bring emotion out in people and improve their day if they're having a shit day. Because I know what it's like. I've got really bad mental health, especially the past few years with COVID and that. I know what it's like to feel like shit.
I'm sorry to cut you off. I know for a fact that's my car alarm going off. Should we go to a 5-minute break? Do you want me to just switch that? Speaking? Or you can keep talking if you want. You can keep talking. I'm gonna go sort my car out.
All right, okay.
You're literally going ads that people join the stream.
I'll be back.
That's fine. Wait, can I see the chat? Is there anyone in the chat? Hi guys, this is Cameron on Ed's podcast. There's 3 viewers right now. If there's anyone in the chat, drop a chat in and we'll say hello. But I'll just continue what I was saying. I think the reason to create is someone broke into his car and he's saying thank you very much. The delivery guys are trying to break into his car to put it in there. I think the reason I create is to bring emotions out in people and to make them feel happier, because I know what it's like to feel shit and to use content as a scapegoat to escape reality, and even if it's just for 5 minutes, to make yourself that little bit happier and brighten a day is a good reason to create. And I think that's why I love doing it. Why do you create?
I don't know, I get paid for it.
Nice. Paid. That's a perfectly good reason to create stuff, man. Ed, how's the car?
Yeah, it's fine, still there.
Good. Okay, as long as it's still there.
Delivery as well.
Oh, good.
We can do an unboxing.
Oh, live unboxing. Do you know what it is?
I have no idea. I forget.
It's like some dark thing all over the internet.
Right, Ed's coming back, guys.
We're getting there.
There we go.
Try not to knock over every camera on the way.
Just getting that backwards cap here.
Merch.
Oh, what you got?
It's a small rig.
Oh, a small rig.
I forget.
You changed the camera just as I put the merch up to it.
meant to change it to the main one. I clicked the wrong button.
There we go. There we go. Sorry, I completely derailed.
No, I was just saying. I mean, I finished it to the chat, but I was just saying. I think like I have my own struggles mentally the past couple of years, and I use content as a form of escape from reality to make yourself happier. And I think, what's he got?
No, carry on.
Okay, I just say I think that's the reason why I like to create, is to improve people's days if they're feeling shit, or bring out any kind of emotion in someone. I think that's, to me, that's the most important part of content creation, is to bring out emotion and make someone feel something, and then that's how they engage, and then that's how they become fans or even friends. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. There's a lot to be said further to that point of putting something good in the world that affects other people. A lot of photographers and videographers poo-poo the idea of ever doing weddings. There's obviously a lot of hello.
Sorry. Bit of footsie.
There's a lot of pressure because it's someone's wedding day. However, I always say, like, they're trying to have the best day of their lives. It's every day of work for me, and you get to capture their history within that wedding day that they'll look back in years to come. And they'll remember, oh, yeah, that dreadlock guy on my wedding day, he was really cool. He had loads of banter with the guests, and we had a dance at the end with him. And by the end, like, you become part of their family, and you see them years later, and maybe kids that you've photographed on their wedding day have now grown up, and they're, like, doing different things. And
you could photograph their wedding day.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Oh, God, maybe. I'll be back on stream saying that in another 10 years' time. But, yeah, you putting something into the world that you know will resonate with people for years to come, and I think that's kind of, I always get a bit biblical with these kind of narratives and stories and ideas of how you should live your life and whatever, but that is, in my mind, speaking to what the purpose of life is, because when you put something into the world that might well last beyond your years on this planet, how good is that? What else is there to do?
Exactly.
What else is there to do?
Yeah.
Do you want to be a hero, or do you want to be a villain?
Yeah,
and if you can put good things into the world that really matter to people and really creates part of their history, yeah. And like, as you're saying, going back to what you're saying, like enlightening someone's day, even if it's a small thing, that to you might seem small, but to them might be that opening of the door, especially as you've been through your own.
Yeah, exactly. It's something entirely inconsequential that you don't even realise will help someone's day. Like I put a song out 3 or 4 years ago in 2017. It was about a rough breakup I had, but like coming out the other side of it as a happier person. And I logged into my SoundCloud like 6 months ago. I hadn't logged in for about a year. And there was a comment on the song saying, someone I'd never met before, don't know their name, don't know where they're from, don't know who they are. Don't even know how they found my music, but they commented on it and they said, this song really got me through a really dark patch of my life, and I had a breakup, and I listened to this song daily, and it got me through it. And that was like, it was a song I put out inconsequential, uploaded it to SoundCloud, just left it, let people listen to it if they wanted to listen to it.
Yeah.
And then to come back to that comment and think, something that I made from scratch, like, who am I? I'm a nobody. Do you know what I mean? In the grand scheme of things, but something that I made helped a person's struggles.
Yeah.
And that, honestly, when I read that comment, I cried, because I was like, I can't believe I made something powerful enough to. I mean, getting emotional about it now.
No,
to make something powerful enough to improve someone's dark period of time, their darkest hour, and maybe be the reason that they might even still be here. And that's fucking powerful as shit, bro. And that's why, like, people say to me now, like, oh, why don't you, you're really good at music, why don't you push more and more and more? I don't care about getting famous. I just want to make people feel something. Yeah. And I think, as like, obviously with fame, the more people hear it, the more people feel something, but I don't care about that. As long as even one person gets something out of something I've made, like, that's me. Do you know what I mean? I'm happy with that.
Fist bump, yeah, fully.
I got really emotional. I nearly cried on stream.
Oh, bless you, man. There we go. fucking here live.
So let's brighten it up.
No. I fully agree, and you know, you do the best you can, and hopefully everyone else can find their way through hard times and struggles, because that's what life is. And eventually, if things get bad, life can be hell. But
Yeah.
Everyone's figuring it out, and that's a story for another day. But that is a big thing in my mind, is that don't be judging what other people are doing, because at the end of the day, everyone's just figuring stuff out. That's it.
100%.
That's it. That's what everyone's doing.
No
So
one,
anyway,
no one knows about life. No one knows why we're here. We're just existing and trying to be as happy as possible.
The deep questions on Catchlight Catchup.
But it's
Why
true,
are we
innit?
here?
Like as a kid, mate, as a kid, I used to hide from everyone that I'm a big wrestling nerd, right? I fucking love wrestling. I used
Okay.
to hide it, right? And a couple of years ago, I was just like, why do I give a shit what people think that I enjoy in my own time? I don't give a fuck. Like, it's something that makes me happy, and I'm just existing and being happy. So I'm sure everyone's got like guilty pleasures that makes them happy. If you don't, are you even human? Yeah, you just buy small rings.
My guilty pleasure is buying things when I'm drunk on Amazon and then completely forgetting what's coming in the post. Anyway,
Yeah.
I'm going to try and rig this up live and
Go on.
see if this is
What we got?
this is a small rig. I don't know if
I'll
it's.
hold your mic.
The thing is, I buy things without researching to see if it's actually going to fix my problem.
Yeah,
I
but
just
you
want to
drunk
see.
Buying, aren't you?
So yeah, it's a magic arm. You must have seen these, right? Small rig.
No, I don't think I have.
These are
actually.
just like you can put it in different directions when you tighten it. Supposedly, there you go, and you can just readjust it and put it anywhere.
You just put a
So,
camera on it.
for the microphone,
Oh,
man.
for the microphone.
That's
I was gonna
it.
Say, yeah.
So
Imagine putting the C70 on that.
it might work. Jerry, rig it up to go up top. I need to get an up top camera at some point. I have no idea if that's the right. That's even the wrong size.
Caroline says she's here for biscuits. She was told there were free biscuits.
Free biscuits.
You got any biscuits? I'm sorry,
don't.
Caroline. I don't know where the biscuits are, man.
We don't know where the biscuits are. I actually don't have any biscuits. Unfortunately, I would have offered you.
No,
a biscuit
it's
if I had a
fine. I'm
biscuit,
fine.
but-
I'm on a 6 month.
You see, this is my problem, because I don't like. That's the wrong size for that. So I don't know. Anyway, we will rig that up later.
We'll give it a test. Yeah.
I will jerry rig it. And all I need are 2 clamps with 1/4-inch screws. I can figure it out there, and then that would be
There you go.
a solution to me holding
That's
this.
your next YouTube video.
That's my next YouTube video. I've already done the unboxing. I just need to do the review of it afterwards once I've got it working. So anyway, what are we going? What are we talking about now?
I don't know.
What's that tangent?
Should we talk about? Should we do?
Should we do our stories?
Yeah. I think it would be quite funny to just tell. I want to hear your weirdest stories, because you've done probably a lot of jobs, and there's been a lot of weird stories.
I've seen a lot, but
Seen a lot,
like.
yeah. It doesn't
not
have to be
necessarily
specifically
jobs.
a weird job, but like just anything. Like, what's the weirdest thing you've experienced whilst being?
There's definitely one
videographer?
story that I will not be saying on this stream. I'll tell you afterwards,
Okay.
but it's a bit much. You go first, because you got more stories than me. I've
Alright,
only
okay.
got one at my.
I've got 2 which are probably good to tell. So the first one, they're both when I was working at that marketing company.
Yeah.
So it wasn't all just mattresses.
Okay.
But these were the 2 most interesting jobs. So, the first one was so my boss had like he was like super rich, and he had like horses in his like field. He had like a big stable, like an actual massive horse thing, like 10 horses.
And people looking after them for him.
Yeah, literally that. Yeah, so he was a big horse person. So naturally, one of our clients became like a racing horse stud farm, essentially, where they make the horses good, I guess.
Good.
Yeah.
We mix the horses together in this pot, and we make them good. We make them run fast.
And I didn't know really what a stud farm was, because I've never been into horses. So like one day my boss was like, "You're going to this stud farm. It's about an hour away." And these were like
You had no questions.
No questions. It was just like that was my job, wasn't it? I was just like, oh, I'm gonna go film some horses because I'd filmed some of his horses before. I just assumed it'd just be them like running around and stuff.
Oh, this is gonna get dark.
And this is so. Bear in mind, these horses are like this farm was bred the most prestigious horses essentially in the UK, like Olympic riding horses, those kind of horses, like big bastards.
Yeah.
And I was like, alright, sound
Meaty horses.
Meaty horses.
Okay.
Mate. Made some naughty burgers out of them. Yeah, so I just got there and I had my camera out and this was like, so they didn't pay for any equipment at my old job, so I just had my old 60D with me, not even a gimbal, just nothing, yeah. And then I got it out and he was like, right, follow me. And we go into this, almost like a science lab. And I was like, what the fuck? And there's all these people with labs and there's test tubes and they're mingling around. And I'm like, all right, this is kind of weird. And then, so the lab's here. And then there's a big window. And then there's almost like a big room full of hay on the floor. And the horse goes in. And then there's a fake horse in the room. And I was like, this is a bit odd. So they bring this horse in, right? They bring this horse in, and I'm like, that's a big old horse. Yeah, I was like, I don't get nowhere near that. I'll zoom in on my lens, but I go nowhere near that. Because if he kicks you, mate, in the head, see you later. Do you know what I mean? They're mental. So bring this horse in, and he's like, right, you stand here. I want a close up of this. And this horse just mounts this fake horse, just starts going at it just like it's a real horse. It's got the holes and everything for it to insert.
This is an image that will forever live rent free in your mind.
Yeah, literally, yeah.
Just whenever you have a moment to yourself during the day, your daydream, your train of thoughts will just.
And then obviously the horse finished inside of it, and that's how they collect the horse's DNA.
DNA, yep.
To make new horses, because you know he was like the best horse in the UK, so obviously they wanted it to have kids. But the reason it was a fake horse and not an actual female horse is if he's doing the deed and that female horse kicks him from behind, it could injure him, and he's still an Olympic level horse. So that's why
it's a safer way.
It's a safer way to wake off a horse. Basically.
Oh, this is far too much information.
So
I don't know what to do. I've got far too many questions. Did they light any candles?
Marvin Gaye in the background.
Marvin Gaye in the background.
There's a hot tub in the corner as well, just for afterwards, yeah. They gave him a cigarette.
So the horse knew why he was there.
He literally walked
He went
in,
straight to it.
Yeah, they led it to it. Obviously, he was a bit like... I think they'd probably kept him without sex for a few days because he was like... neighing and stuff when he walked in.
This conversation is draining my energy already. I'm like,
I think I felt having to film that without knowing. So yeah, that was.
So did you get the money shot?
I got the money shot. Yeah. Do you know what's even worse? That was the last shot. That was the last job I'd filmed before I left the company.
That was it. That was the breaking point.
I didn't even edit it. The new person had to edit it. They were just like, just leave those files on the computer.
Oh.
Hey,
I'm gonna start my new day. Yeah, great. Okay, so what's my first job? So open this folder and watch it.
Watch it intently.
Do I get an introduction video on what I'm going to be doing this job? No. Open a video of this horse enjoying a sex doll for horses. Wow.
So my second one is...
I feel like we've grown closer.
We have.
I'm
glad we had this chat. I got
Fuck's
it off my
sake.
chest. This one
Do you tell... When you have girlfriends, do you tell them this story? Is this like a first date or second date?
Get a bit closer, maybe, yeah.
Okay.
It is a good topic starter, though.
Yeah.
It is a good conversation starter. I mean, we spoke about that for like 5 or 10 minutes there.
Yeah, fucking A, mate.
The second one is
I feel ill.
less graphic, but this is a story. When I tell people, especially men, they'll be like, "Oh, mate, you're the luckiest man in the world. You got to film that." It's not porn, don't worry.
Oh.
It was nearly.
Ryan's laughing in the background. I need to get like an editor camera for him so you can see
That
him
would be a great shot.
cracking it up in the corner. Yeah.
So one of our clients at the old job was a lingerie company. Yep.
Okay.
So just picture that, right? And then, so obviously I'm the only video person there, video and photographer at the job. So naturally, every job that comes my way, I have to do. So one day I had to go to this lingerie company. I had to go to their office, and everyone thinks this is the best job in the world. I promise you, it was completely the opposite. So I had to go there, and they'd got 3 of their well-known models that model their lingerie on their website. They brought them in for me too. Sounds so weird saying it.
Here we go. We're going in, boys.
You know when you get a product, and you put it on a small turntable. They'd got a human-sized turntable for a model to stand on in the lingerie, and for me to film. So
they can spin round.
And people can see what the lingerie
Lazy
looks
Susan.
like on. Yeah, exactly. One of them.
Yep.
And everyone thinks that is, mate, you got to stand and hang around with these beautiful women in their lingerie all day. Honestly, it was the most awkward experience of my life.
Far too close.
It was just like, even going into it, I was like, yeah, this is going to be sick. And then I got there, and like these, honestly, they were like some of the most beautiful women in the world, loveliest people in the world. And you make a rapport with them, and you become almost friends with them. And then they change into their lingerie, and you're like, shit, where do I look? I don't want to be a creep, but I have to look to get the right shot. I'm sure they've probably seen it all before, because they are models for lingerie.
Yeah, that's what they do.
But I'd never done this before, and I was like, oh my God, where do I look? I don't want to be a creep. I want to be completely respectful to these women. I don't want to accidentally stare at a boob for 2 seconds too long. Do you know what I mean? All these thoughts going through my head, and I thought it was going to be such a good day, and it turned out it was just so awkward. And because you make friends with them as well. It's like imagine if we were having this chat now, and I just took all my clothes off.
Yeah.
It's odd, isn't it? And so the worst thing was, right, so we broke for lunch, and there was this big long table, and there was 3 models, there was 3 or 4 stylists, there was the 2 owners of the company, and they were like, oh, Cameron, come and sit down, like, we've got you lunch as well. And I'm like, buzzing, like, at least I can have a free lunch on them, so I can sit down at the table, and then the models come in, right, and they're still in their lingerie eating the lunch with us. And I'm like trying to eat a sandwich and be like, don't look at boobs. Don't just or like trying to talk to them and making sure like I'm looking in your eyes like that. Do you know what I mean? It was the most awkward sandwich I've ever eaten in my life. And I was just like, why did you not just put a t-shirt on?
I guess. That's very much part of the male brain.
It is, yeah.
To act like that. After a while, those thoughts disappear.
Yeah.
And you don't respond in that way.
Yeah. Yeah, I think 100%, because obviously I was raised by a single mum, so I was just like, it's drilled into my brain, respect women, but when you're put into that situation,
it's like a doctor's surgery or whatever, just matter of fact, just get on with it.
When you're just thrown into that situation with no experience of how to handle that, I mean, and again, this was 6 or 7 years ago, so I was like in my very early 20s at that point. So
okay.
It was just like, I was very young, very inexperienced, and just like, do you know what I mean? Like, just thrust into this environment that I'd never been a part of before. And yeah, I just found it incredibly awkward. And I just put a t-shirt on when you're having a sandwich with me.
I'll just talk to you looking enough this way. Yeah. Fair enough.
So they were my 2 weirdest jobs that I've done, I would say. All oddly from an actual job that I had, not freelance.
Okay, yeah. So my weird job, well, not weird, but it was a highlight of my career, is we were taking photos of different products for, again, not horses, but agricultural farms and that kind of stuff. And we were tasked to photograph suppositories for cows.
Okay, good.
And they had props, farm related props, to be able to style these pills with. They reeked. Absolute
Wait,
reeks.
I really need you to. What's a fun-related prop to
Well,
to dress?
hay,
Oh, right, okay.
and it wasn't the back end of a fake horse.
okay, good,
No.
yeah. That's just
It wasn't
for horse
quite
breeding.
that. It wasn't that scarring. But yeah, so we propped it up onto some hay bales, a pitchfork, and other such things with the packet as well. And yeah, that was published in in a magazine. Highlight of my career. My cow suppository pills were Well, there's a market, man. There's cows. You need these things.
Everything.
But it just occurred to me halfway through. Wow, this is what I'm doing, and
But at least, see, when you said suppository,
it's not as bad as
I
he was imagining that we were
close-ups,
actually getting
putting
an
it in.
instructional.
Yeah.
They did have the tool there.
Oh, really?
It's like a giant syringe
And they showed
kind
you
of
how they did
thing.
it.
Yeah, you put it in and then you pop and it goes. And the end of it's just like a tool to insert.
Yeah.
So I don't know how else to describe it. So there you go.
What is the okay time to stare? Oh, I'm assuming that was when I said I didn't want to stare.
How
at people
long?
for too
How long?
I don't
Yeah.
think. Well, there's obviously never an okay.
It's like
time to
pronouns,
stare,
isn't
but
it? It's
like,
different for everyone.
It's like when you're essentially there and you have to get the right shot. You have to look at the bra to make sure it's symmetrical and stuff like that. But you obviously don't want to look too long where it looks like you're looking at their boobs.
Don't you ever have that as like you obviously it's your job to look at the light.
Yeah.
Very often I have to say with models, I stare at them.
Yeah.
Like in terms of getting the lights correct, and say, look, I'm looking at the light. I'm not looking at you.
Right.
I'm looking at the light on your face.
So I've never
Even
done-
looking at you, I can see
Yeah.
the light from this and bouncing off the
So
side
I've
of
never
your
really
head.
done a lot of work with models. That's not ever something I've ever really got into.
Oh, okay.
And that's why I say like with photography, like I just prefer doing street stuff, like
Yeah,
that kind of
yeah,
stuff. Where
yeah.
like, so yeah, I think because I hadn't had that experience in models, it was like I need to make the product look right, and not, but at the same time not make it look like I'm looking at her. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that was where I struggled. So I think, yeah, don't worry, I'm not.
It's a fresh experience.
Yeah.
Like Ryan, I've seen that expression on Ryan's face
Yeah.
in the past. What do I do? And he's like the only one sweating in the room. But yeah.
It's a little bit awkward.
Always a little bit awkward. Always a little bit awkward.
It is, especially when it's your first time as well. I think obviously the more you
The
do
first
it,
time.
it's like because these women are experienced, so they're used to it.
Yeah.
They're probably used to people looking and making sure things are right. I wasn't experienced at that. This is my
Okay,
first job
well,
out of uni.
I had a situation where I was shooting a model
Go on.
on location. Her boyfriend was there.
Oh, not the boyfriend.
She was walking around doing as she does.
Yeah.
And we had like an hour-long conversation about VR headsets on this computer. We were totally into the computer and
Yeah.
just well into VR. And he was showing me all these videos, the latest and greatest
Yeah.
with VR technology. It just occurred to me, it's like I'm just chilling with this dude, like,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
his girlfriend's just in the background, and that's not even the point of interest at that point.
yeah, exactly. Well, it's because
So-
they're both used to it, isn't it? And,
Yeah.
and as models, they are used to it. But yeah, like I said, well, especially with me, and then me saying about Ryan as someone that were unexperienced at that point, you don't realise that they're experienced. You just think, I don't want to look like a creep. Do you know what
Just
I mean?
super worried.
Yeah, just super worried. I
from
think
the
that was
get-go.
the issue.
Okay,
Being an anxious
okay.
person anyway, I was just super worried to not look like I was disrespecting them in any way. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or ogling. But yeah,
What other
Like-
weird?
I'm really interested to hear the one you're not going to say on stream. I'm not going to lie.
Oh,
no, don't say it now.
no.
Remind me to remind
Okay,
you.
yeah.
Ooh, what's going on here?
Right. There's a server problem. No, we're good. Stream still live?
Yeah, as far as it was.
Yeah, we're looking at it. It looks pretty recent there. It's caught up a little bit there. But okay, what else we got to talk about?
I don't know.
Don't know.
Have you not got anything written down?
Let me have a look at my notes.
Let's have a look at
I'm
his
gonna
notes.
have a look at my notes. Yeah, man, we're talking, we're chilling. Ryan, what's your weirdest
What weirdest job?
job?
I don't know.
He's been challenged. He's been put in a situation where he had to deal with very, very high-end cameras that he's never
Oh,
used
that was
before.
The FX9.
Yeah, and he had to figure that out. Let me have a look. Keep talking, Cameron. Keep talking.
Okay, so yeah, it's hard to just talk
To riff.
without a
Right. Okay. Canon or Sony?
Canon or Sony. See, right. I feel like you think this is going to be a big debate, but like I'm one of them people where it's like I'm not massively into. I know this sounds stupid coming from like a freelancer, but I'm not massively into all the technical specs. And
Okay.
stuff like that.
Okay.
I think there is a very big. You know what it is? You can almost, as a videographer, you can almost tell when something's shot on Sony and shot on camera.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
almost a certain look to it, and I feel like Canon's is maybe more contrasty and more coloured.
Yeah.
There's a lot of colours
Yeah.
and there's a lot of contrast in Canon images, whereas with Sony it's almost washed out, maybe a little bit saturated, but more modern feeling, because that's the style that like Netflix uses with their documentaries and stuff like
Okay.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Honestly, I don't care either way. I've had a Canon, I've had a Sony. Me and Ryan were chatting earlier about the Sony menus are pathetic. They are.
Yeah,
It's just like, why is audio in this section? Or it takes you like half an hour to find how to change the picture profile. But honestly, I don't have enough experience with new Canons. The only Canon I ever had was a 60D. So I don't have experience with a C70 or any other Canon. So I can't sit there and say, Sony's better.
Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
sit there and say, I've used Sony and it's worked for me. And I think my next purchase will be a Sony, just because I'm used to it now.
Yep. Yep. Okay. What are you looking at?
FX6.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Nice.
But I need to
Invest in yourself. Do it.
Yeah, but it's just hard when it's like a 5-6 grand body in it, and then you've got to buy
Man,
the
but then it's done. And then it's yours.
Yeah.
And then you realise when you walk into the room on a job, this is why you're paying.
You're the
because
bollocks, yeah.
this is what we're doing, you know?
Well, that's the thing again we were talking about earlier before we went on stream, is like a lot of clients don't understand video, they don't understand photography. So if you walk in with a DSLR, which is very capable, or a full frame camera, or a mirrorless, or whatever.
Capable within what the client is expecting.
Yeah. It's still capable. Like if I walked in with my A7S II unrigged, and then I walked in with the exact same camera, rigged with a cage, a shoulder mount, microphone, this, that, and the other, and it looks fucking massive, they're going to be so much more impressed with that.
Follow focus when you're using autofocus.
Yeah, exactly. They're going to be so much more impressed with the big camera than the camera that... Does that just take photos?
Yeah.
Because that's what it looks like. So, yeah, I think that's very interesting, is that, like, you could almost add an extra grand onto a job just by how big your camera is.
Yeah, for sure.
Because you look more professional, and that's what they care about when they see you, is, oh, this guy looks like he knows what he's doing, rather than just getting...
Even if they absolutely love your work and then they meet you for the first time, you're like, oh, is that what you got?
Yeah. So what about you? If you were to
I've been on a job recently, past 3 months or so, using the C70, and I had someone ask me to take a photo with it.
That was the worst.
I was just like, how do I say anything and not come across as rude? Like,
well, the thing is, obviously it's a cinema. I'm looking at it now. It's a cinema camera, but it does look like a bigger camera. I can see why people not initiated would make that mistake. Do you know what I mean?
it's like they expected me to put a sheet over my head
Yeah,
as well. Like,
100%. But looking at it, it does look just like, it looks a bit like a massive camera rather than like a big shoulder news camera.
Yeah, instead of
I can see how people that don't understand cameras could make that mistake.
Maybe they think video cameras are that big cinema.
Yeah.
Airy Alexa.
Maybe they're like, why has this guy just got a massive photo camera?
I can use my phone.
But in terms of, obviously, I assume you've always shot on Canon. Have you used Sony before?
I bought a Sony.
You bought a Sony. Which one did you buy?
I bought the A7 III.
Yeah.
And I was really prepared to give it a go and to use it alongside, because I'm like yourself. I'm not necessarily like, I hate how Canon segregate each camera for a different type of audience.
Right.
The fact that you need so many cameras for different jobs.
Okay.
So I was just like, oh, if I get this one Sony, maybe that can be my running horse. What's the expression?
Run and gun?
Run and gun?
Gorilla?
Running
horse.
Running horse.
Running horse camera.
It's got too many. I've got too many horses on the
you got horse in
mind.
your head, didn't you? It's just like, oh god.
Okay, it's my daily driver. Let's say that.
Okay.
It could be my daily driver for all kind of projects.
Yeah.
So I sat with it, and like since I was a kid, whenever I get a new piece of tech, I go through all the menus menus. I'm not really into cameras,
Yeah.
but I like finding solutions to problems.
Right. Okay.
So I was just, what can I do with this? So went through all the menus, got it set up to how I thought I'd like it set up, and I had it for 3 days in total. Tried it on a few jobs, and it didn't gel with me, and for reasons that aren't necessarily the problem with the camera. I'm an emotional shooter.
Yeah.
I don't want the camera to be in my way. I love with the Canons that the screens are so big that you take an image and you can see the image and you're like, that's good. That's fine. I know what I've got there. I can move on. With that screen, I couldn't tell if it was a good image. It was only when taking it back to the computer, I'd be like, okay, that is fine. But I need to know in the moment, so I can move on.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a great camera.
Yeah, well, it's different
Nothing
strokes
against.
for different folks.
Yeah,
isn't it? You've
yeah.
always used Canons, I assume, ever since I've seen you from shooting clubs and when I was.
Hey, early days when I was renting it from the uni, I would have a 5D Mark II in one hand and a Nikon D7700 in the other hand, and people would look at me like, "Why? Why are you doing that?"
You just think, you're a fake photographer, man. You got to pick a brand.
All the brands.
That's interesting. Yeah, it's different strokes for different folks. I think the reason
I'm gonna put my hoodie on because it's getting a chilly
no
up here.
I think the reason I think the reason I prefer Sony at the moment, let's say, because I'm not saying that I couldn't be swayed. It's just what I use at the moment is because, like I said, I went straight out of uni into this marketing job, and still had my 60D, and they didn't buy me any new gear.
Yeah.
And you're in 2016 with a Canon 60D. You're never going to get anything good out of that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when I went freelance, and at the time, the best camera on the market for what I needed, which was music videos, live performances, low light shooting, was the A7S2. At that time.
Yeah, no, it's a brilliant camera for a long time. That was like.
And I think because I went from the 60D, where you'd get noise at 600 ISO.
Yeah, to that.
To
wow.
go into the A7S2 straight up to being like, I can shoot 4K. I can shoot 120 frames per second. I can shoot in 128,000 ISO and it's not noisy. Do you know what I mean? Like
in the dark.
The vast improvement from the 60D and it's not a bad camera, the 60D, for what I needed it for at the time when I first got it. But like the improvement from that to the A7S2, I think was the reason why it was just like, yeah, I fucking love Sony, man. And I think obviously just because, same with you, like how you were used to Canon, because I've had the Sony for so long now, I'm kind of used to it. So I think in my head,
you're used to the workflow with it.
Yeah. And used to, as shit as they are, probably used to the menus and the overall image, I think. Because I feel like there is such a difference between Sony and Canon. I can always tell the difference.
Yeah.
Because Canon does bring out a beautiful image.
Yeah.
I always find with Canon the images are very warm.
Yeah.
Very rich and contrasty. And like I said, the Sonys are quite almost the opposite. They're quite cold and washed out at times. But again, it's what you prefer as a filmmaker.
Well, a lot of the times, and I wouldn't say I'm a colorist.
Yeah.
I avoid colors. That the fact that you can get close to a usable image straight away on Canon.
Yeah. Exactly.
Is a huge plus for me. It makes me very envious the dynamic range you can get on across the board with Sony, which is why I got the C70, because I wanted to taste the dynamic range. Yeah. Different strokes for different folks.
That's
I
it,
guess.
yeah.
There we go.
I think it's just what you prefer. I don't think there's a winner, but I'm a fence sitter, mate. Do you know what I mean? Everyone's
is there anything on Canon that makes you envious?
I think the same as you. I think being able to take an image, and even with my 60D, I noticed it quite a lot. You could take an image and you wouldn't necessarily have to edit it so much.
Yeah.
On the Sony, I would never put out an unedited or even slightly just edited image.
Or even give it to a client and expect them to be able to cope with it.
Because like I say, they're all very washed out when you first take that image. So that is something envious about the Canon. I think just the richness and the warmthness of the image. Just basically what we've said. You can literally get a really good image straight out, raw, unedited. And with Sony, it's very much like, nah, you can't push those dials to make it look good.
Yeah.
But when it looks good, it looks good. But it's just a lot of extra steps, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's it. Like, because I've had a Sony, I've not really researched into Canons that much, so I can't sit there and tell you anything about what we're shooting on today. I don't even know what make and model they are. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, other than the cinema, but I couldn't tell you the difference between is it the C70?
Yep.
The C70 and the FX6, for example, just because I haven't researched the C70, so I wouldn't even be able to tell you what a better camera is.
FX6 has the SDI outputs. Has some of the nicer things that you need them on corporate jobs. I think the FX6 has it built-in NDs. I could be talking that my ass. I have no idea.
The FX6
yeah,
has built-in NDs.
Yeah. And you think that's a small thing, but once you've got built-in NDs, wow, that's.
Then you also sacrifice because of the pre-built NDs. It doesn't have IBIS, so there's no stabilization.
No stabilization.
So
yeah.
Handheld shots can look very shaky.
Yeah.
I think there is.
It's a heavier camera for it as well.
Yeah, it's a heavier camera, and I think there is. Sony have brought out their own stabilizer thing,
okay.
Because when you, from what I've researched, when you shoot handheld or whatever, when you shoot with the FX6, it retains the gyroscope information, and then
you can do it later.
You can put it into a Sony stabilizer, and it uses that information to stabilize the image really nicely. Actually, a lot better than like a warp stabilizer on Premiere, which is shit, isn't it?
Yeah, use sparingly. To be honest, I've stopped using it.
Yeah,
I used to use it a lot, but now I just let things be as they be.
Do you find you have a certain style that you prefer to shoot?
In what way?
So for me, I would shoot everything and anything and music videos, blah blah blah. Whereas the past year or so, as I was saying on our test stream, I've really fallen in love with the almost late 70s, early 80s vintage cinema style. Yeah. So when I get a music video and the direction is you do it, that's what I'll go for. Yeah. So I'll shoot it in 4:3. I'll have a shitload of grain.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because that's what I like.
A music video done recently, I dropped the frames. Yeah. Like 10 frames a second.
Yeah.
That looks sick.
Looks good, doesn't it?
So good.
Yeah. And just experimenting as well. There was one I did not a year or two ago, and like the whole idea of it was almost like he was on a trip, and so I just put the fucking shutter speed up really high. So every time I move the camera, the lights would just go. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
just make it look really weird. So just experimenting, but I feel like that would be
shutter speed really low. You mean?
Low. Sorry.
There we go.
Yeah. My bad.
Yeah, that's right.
So if someone was to say what's your style, I would say almost like that vintage look.
Yeah.
You know, I'll rig 3 or 4 mist filters on my lenses. Just to get that look, do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
if someone was to say to you, "Do you have a style?" It's fine if you don't.
Yeah.
But because some people just do everything. But if you were to like, what would you say your style would be, or what?
Well,
not necessarily something that you do all the time, but something that you love the most about filming and photography. That if you were to do a personal project, this is how you would do it.
Yeah. So as we were saying again before the stream, I'm not a creative photographer. I would never say that. I don't have the eye, but I've studied hard and worked hard to overcompensate for my shortcomings. I would say that I am obsessed with light.
Yeah.
Although I love video, I love what you can do with light within photography.
Yeah.
And I always try and inform everything else with everything else. So with video, I want to bring it into the studio. I want to bring creative lighting to it, and to make things look professional, like it's got production, like it's got budget, and to make things look as if they were shot with a much bigger crew than very often as freelancers we actually get.
Okay.
So
you're big into your lights, are you?
I'm dabbling with effects.
Yeah.
With music videos, I've had 2 come out recently. I've got another 3 or 4 coming out this year, and I'm doing more and more to mess up the footage.
Yeah.
To really make it interesting.
That's what they want.
Yeah.
Do you know what the worst thing is? I had a music video client, and it was like, they were quite a big client, and it was like, what do you want? How am I edited in this video? Just like mad techie edits and that. Oh, yeah, good. What does that mean then?
That's free license to do what you want with it then.
it's just you get that, and it's multiple times, isn't it? Oh, just edit it sick, man. What does that mean? What does edit it sick mean?
Well, hey, man, this is why people are good at different things.
Yeah.
You know, like I wouldn't know. Well, you're gifted that you can do music as well, but I wouldn't know. Audio, I've always said, is my weakness.
Yeah.
Which is hopefully the stream is sounding okay, but we'll see. Ryan's not giving me too much of an optimistic.
I mean, I can't hear it, so I think.
Give us
I mean,
a thumb.
we had people in the chat talking about what we were talking about.
Okay, so they can
at least
hear
us. Yeah.
They can hear what we're saying at least. Fair enough. So yeah, I digress. So, one thing I do want to touch on. What advice would you give to someone who's thinking about getting into doing, more specifically, freelance than an actual
As
job
in,
on the
like,
side of
a
things?
kid at school, or just anybody?
Anybody. Because very often I have people asking questions of me, how do you do this, how do you do that? And I don't always have a solid question. So it's a question that I'm interested to hear from others. Like, how was your journey coming into this?
I would say buy an inexpensive camera, create as much as you can, see if you love it, and then if you don't, you've not spent $5,000 on a camera that you're not going to use.
Yeah.
Because they'll depreciate. They will. I think create as much as possible. Network with anybody and everybody is a big thing. And don't be scared to showcase your work, even if
Showing people your work.
Yeah.
Show anyone.
Yeah, even
Friends and family first.
Yeah, what you just putting it online, putting it on YouTube. You never know. You never know who will see it. Even if it's got 10 views, who's to say one of those 10 people isn't Taylor Swift? Do you know what I mean? It's not going to be. But do you know what I mean? Like,
You got something for Taylor Swift, didn't you?
yeah, Taylor. If you're watching, girl. No, but yeah, just put it out there, because if you don't, you will always be sat there thinking, what if? Do you know what I mean? What if you get to 60 and you've worked an office job your entire life and hated it, and you think, oh, I really fucking wish I just took some photos back in the day. It doesn't stop you when you're 60, but okay, maybe when you're 90 then. Do you know what I mean? And you're gonna live with that. Like, what if I? Do you know what I mean? And I struggle with it, so it's very hypocritical of me to say I've got, like, in terms of photography, it's not my biggest point, my strongest point. Sorry. So I've got hundreds and thousands of edited images that I could put on my Instagram, ready to go. When I show people that, oh, they're so good, why are you not putting it out? I'm just not fucking confident enough, and it's something that I wish I could change. But that, to give someone that advice, I think if you're a kid at school, study media, study photography, because I mean, at the end of the day, anything you study really, like, it's not going to matter in the long run, is it? Maybe if you're becoming like a math or scientist or a lawyer or something, yeah. But like when I was a kid, it was like study French because it would look great on your CV. I've not used French ever. No one's asked me to speak French.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
So if you're interested in it and you've got an interest, just do it. Just that is the best advice I can give. If it ruins your life, it's not my fault. It's just advice. You know what I mean?
No responsibility.
Yeah, no responsibility. Don't come at me. But yeah, I think just create. Just follow what you love doing, because that's something that I didn't do for a while, with the fear of people won't think I'm cool, and now I don't give a shit about that.
Yeah.
And I get more people now telling me I'm cool as fuck than I ever did when I was. And you know, look, big toot of my horn, but like when you don't give a shit anymore, and you're just you. And you're unapologetically who you are.
Yes.
That's the coolest thing you can be.
Yeah.
Because who gives a shit, man? We're going to die in 40, 50 years anyway. Like, why not be happy? So yeah, just create, have fun with it. Have fun. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Have fun. Because if you're not having fun, you're in the wrong thing.
Yeah.
What's that quote where it's like, if you have fun at your job, it's not a job, or something like that?
Yeah.
Someone can find
just
it.
calling me. I'm going blank now on that. You know what he's on about, don't you?
I know you're on about. I don't know.
It's like
If you love your job, you never work a day in your life.
That's the one.
There we
Yeah,
go.
yeah,
Something like that.
Exactly. And I'd say I enjoy the highs and lows of freelance so much more than the constant mids of office life.
100%.
Because there's no highs in office life. There's no lows in office life. Well, there might be lows, but it's just always mid. With freelance, it's like, fucking yeah, I've got a £6,000 job. Oh my God, I've not got any work this month. Fucking yeah, £3,000 job. Oh no, I've not got any work this month.
no.
And it's just such a fun roller coaster to be a part of.
Yeah. And then you can fill the rest of your time up going on podcasts and
Yeah,
Twitch streams
literally.
and hanging out.
Doing
and...
fuck all and pretending to be busy. That's
the
fine.
way, that's the
Anyway,
way.
what about you? If you had to give someone advice, what would you say? Because I think in terms of like people I know that are videographers and photographers, you're probably up there as like someone I would respect the most because of your sheer body of work. Because I don't know a lot of photographers and videographers that have that much experience. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I knew who you were before you ever knew who I was. Do you know what I mean? Just seeing you in every single club I was in, always there every single
that's
night.
Probably why.
Yeah,
I've
but
just taken over so many clubs.
But that's work ethic. Like
yeah.
that's something I respect a lot and something I wish I had more of in terms of like I will do at the moment what I can to get by each month because that's what makes me happy. I don't want to be busy every single day of the week because my brain doesn't function that way.
Yeah.
But if you were to give someone advice, because it would probably mean a lot more coming from you.
Well, initially I was just stubborn.
Yeah.
And I was driven by fear.
Really?
I was afraid of getting a normal job.
Yeah.
And similar to you, coming straight out of uni, how do I figure this out? I always say my learning started after uni, and I was just stubborn. I was like, I don't want to do a normal job. No way. No one's telling me what to do. I'm going to do it my way. I'm going to figure it out.
Yeah.
And I was just stubborn. I was knocking doors for charity.
Really?
One of the biggest points of me getting into media was knocking doors for British Heart Foundation and cancer research. And
cool,
and I always go back to the stories that I learnt from skateboarding. You fall over, you fail, you get up again. Dragon Ball Z, you get beaten up, you get into the back to tank, and you come up, and you get stronger. You learn your lessons.
Yeah.
You knock doors for charity. Every single door gets slammed in your face. 100 doors a day, and you get maybe one conversation with someone.
Yeah.
But if you get that one, that's a success.
That's one. That's a client.
So what I would say to anyone getting into this is don't expect every door to open.
That's a great shout. Yeah.
Just expect.
And don't take it personally.
And don't take it personally.
Yeah.
And that's just part of the journey. Just as long as you never quit, you never fail. Just take those failures and see them what they are as learning opportunities. Like the studio, it failed. The building's gone. And
I got a good music video.
Yeah, you got a music video out of it as well. And we got to communicate in networks. So there's positives, there's silver linings in every opportunity that you try.
Yeah.
Even with this, who knows? Like, I'm kind of scared if anyone even watches, because I'm enjoying the process of it. So just enjoy the process of it.
Exactly.
Don't worry about the failures, because if you knock on enough doors, you'll get that one conversation. And
you've got to make these. You've got to do these stepping stones now to get to where you want to be.
Yeah.
And who's to say 5 years in the future you're massive at this, and then maybe you never know.
You never know. You never know.
And who's to say this video won't, because of that, people go back and watch the old video. Who's to say this won't get 100,000 views?
Scared of that. Scared of that. In case I hiccup and say a naughty word.
Yeah. I've said plenty of naughty words. I think I offended someone in the chat when I said stare at a boob too long.
Everyone likes to stare at a boob. Anyway, so let's wrap this up. I don't know how long we've been doing it for. Do you want to give people so what are you doing in the next year, and how can people find you? And
so music, I've got an album coming out in the next few months called I'll Bail You Tomorrow. It's a concept album. It tells a story of all my mental health struggles over the years, and it starts off sort of in a very sad place, and towards the end becomes more introspective and happy, and that's what I like to do with music. I like to tell a story throughout a whole project, so that's coming out soon. We've got a music video for that filmed at the old Catchlight Studios, coming out in the next couple of weeks hopefully. More streaming on Twitch, stream every Monday and Wednesday, optional weekends. I've got some merch out, wearing it. Yeah.
I can't even see where the camera is. It's
There
not
we go.
actually live. I have no idea. Just waving it around. It looks good.
Yeah. So it's twitch.tv/Matt Backwards if you want to come watch the streams. We've got wicked community actually. We're actually growing really nicely. And yeah, I just think, oh, that's my alarm. Sorry, that's my call the doctors for my repeat prescription alarm.
time.
Quarter to
Jeez.
5, yeah. So yeah, just music. I've got a couple of EPs that I want to get towards the end of the year, and then hopefully filming more things and editing more things. I have this issue where like I'll start a new project and I'll jump headfirst into it and forget about everything. So I started Twitch, and then like 3 months in, I was like, oh, I've not done any work properly in ages.
Yeah.
So I think trying to
Balance.
trying to find the balance. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I've got coming up anyway. But yeah,
Nice.
thank you
Cool.
for having me, bro.
No, absolute fucking pleasure, man. And even from the get go, from the VR chill out time, I always said we need to hang out
We
more.
do.
We vibe. We
do.
vibe.
And thank you, Rob.
So, and thank you, Ryan. Can everyone, let's give Ryan a clap.
Thank you.
There we go. He's
Happy game, yeah, thanks.
Cash anyway. Cool. Let's wrap this up
Sweet.
because it's already getting late. So thank you very much. Hopefully we're on this camera already. He's on it. He's pro at this already. This is why we keep Ryan around. Anyway, thank you very much for watching the stream. Thank you very much for Cam for coming on board. We're going to do more of these streams. So hopefully anyone finds any value out of this. And yeah, we'll catch you guys in the next video.
We'll catchlight you guys later.
Fucking awful. Right, we're done. Bye bye.
Wicked, man. That was really good, actually.
Oh,